Welcome to Money, Manifestation, and Business, the podcast that shows you how to use your energy, intention, and consciousness to reprogram your money mindset, unleash a new level of possibility, and create a life and business that lights you up. I'm your host, Jamie Berman, and I invite you to join me each week for a dose of inspiration, coaching, and teachings to help you rewrite your money story, create abundance on your terms, and grow your business in a way that's fully aligned for you. This is going to be so much fun. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the podcast. Today, we are going to talk about the 7 books that have been life-changing for me, that have really changed the trajectory of my life and my business and my relationship with money, and opened up new perspectives and a new way of thinking and being. And each of these books are books that I have read multiple times. They're like my bedside reads, right? And the reason I was inspired to record this episode is actually because last night I was going through all of my books. I have so many books, like 3 bookshelves of books just completely packed. And me and my husband are in the process of clearing out the old, bringing what we want to keep with us, simplifying our life. We are getting ready to move to Maui, and we are moving full time. And my word for this is grace, efficiency, simplification. So with that, it means we're not bringing everything with us. And we have a pretty big house in LA that we have just been storing stuff in for the past 9 years. When I say storing stuff, I mean, we didn't do a lot of decluttering. We had a lot of space in this house. So that meant we had a lot of room to store stuff. So we are deep in that process right now. And last night it was all about books, and it was so fun to go through them and look through the books that have just really changed my life throughout the years. Books are something I love. I am such a reader. I have read hundreds of books in this house in the 9 years that I have lived here. And it was really fun going through the ones that I want to keep and hold on to and looking at what I'm okay with releasing. And with that, it inspired me to look at the books that have been most transformational for me and most eye-opening, and have just built a foundation for who I am based upon this variety of books. So I wanted to go through them with you and share what each of them has really taught me. So the first book is The Surrender Experiment. And I picked that as my first book because that's probably the one that I have listened to the most. I have read it, and I also have it on audiobook. And I have listened to that several times because I feel like oftentimes that is the teaching that I need, is to lean into surrender, especially being someone who is ambitious and likes to go after things and is willing to take action, is willing to really try and give things my all. Sometimes the balance that I need is surrendering my vision to the universe and surrendering it to God and surrendering it to a higher organization that can do things more effectively and efficiently on my behalf. That is oftentimes the opportunity for me. And Michael Singer has really taught me how to do that through the book, The Surrender Experiment. And to summarize some of the things that I have really gotten out of this book, well, first of all, Michael Singer is an amazing human being. I mean, he has created incredible things in this lifetime, and it takes us through his entire journey of adulthood and talks about back when he was just a hippie and building homes and kind of taking on any tasks that he could. He started teaching and eventually built a billion-dollar business, was a business that he sold for $5 billion. And his spiritual practice and his way of doing things was not necessarily intentionally manifesting. His was always coming back to source, coming back to God, coming back and having spirituality and meditation and God be the foundation for everything that he does and everything that he says yes to. And so he's all about surrender. And I'm a big fan of surrender. And I'm also a big fan of intentionally manifesting when you have a soul desire. So for me, my path is combining manifestation and conscious manifestation and taking action and balancing that out with surrendering it to a higher power, a higher force. And so if you want to learn more about how to do that and how to come back to source, how to come back to God, and how to make that a practice and a foundation for everything that you do and lean further into surrender, I think you're going to absolutely love this book. And what's great about this book is it's also really entertaining. I find it easy to listen to, easy to read. I find it interesting. And as someone who tends to get distracted easily, sometimes books I'll read like a couple chapters and then I'm done. With this one, I have listened to this so many times and I keep coming back to it. And it's one that I'll even like, if I get on a long plane ride, I just love to turn it on because it's such a fantastic reminder. So that is The Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer. The second book I picked to share with you is called The Soul of Money by Lynn Twist. And if you've been in my world long enough, if you're new to me, I'll tell you about this book. But if you've been in my world for a while or listening to this podcast, you've probably heard me quote Lynn Twist, because one of my favorite quotes that I think about abundance and money and anything that we are calling in came from this book. The quote is, "What you appreciate appreciates." And what I love about The Soul of Money is that for me, what it did was it opened my mind to a new way of looking at money, where it is connected to a soul purpose, where we do get to connect it to our highest values, where we can use it for good in the world. And what Lynn Twist taught me in The Soul of Money is really about abundance and how we live in an abundant universe. And she really talks about the difference between abundance and scarcity. And she also talks about leaning into a sufficiency mindset. And I have used this book to really cultivate a practice for myself that helped me lean deeper into abundance and to understand money on a new level. So if you're wanting to dive into money work or see a new perspective of holding money, I think you will really love this book. And again, this is one that I've listened to time and time again. What I really like about this book is that you can pick it up and just pick any chapter, whichever one resonates. After I read through the entire book, I found that time after time, I would just pick it up and read one chapter. I would read, oh gosh, this is the one that I need for today. I want to read a little bit more about scarcity. So I would dive into that. And I just love it. And I thank Lynn Twist for putting these beautiful words and these messages down on a book, because it has been really life-changing for me. The third book that has changed my life and really helps me come into a state of groundedness and presence, and honestly, just reading it in and of itself is a meditation practice for me. It is The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. Eckhart Tolle is one of my main mentors and teachers. I have been lucky enough to go to one of his in-person retreats. I'm looking forward to doing more. That's part of my vision for the next year. I would love to go to another Eckhart Tolle retreat. The book, The Power of Now, has been life-changing for me. And what that book taught me is really the difference between our ego and the ego mind versus presence, versus stillness, versus wholeness, right? And it really helped me to understand what was my ego mind, what is that and how to work with it. One of my favorite lessons within that book is where he talks about the pain body. And I feel like I used to have a very active pain body. And I began to become aware of it thanks to the understanding that he gave in this book. And the way that Eckhart talks about the pain body is it's basically past traumas, past programming. It's those thoughts that get really activated to the point where you really feel it in your body. And I would notice there were certain times a month that my pain body would get activated when I was really tired. And just having the awareness of what the pain body is and what mine sounded like, how mine showed up, allowed me to work with it in a way that was so healing and has really, I won't say it's eliminated that part of me, but it has massively reduced the amount that it gets active within me because I have so much awareness and understanding around what it is. And this was the first time I ever learned about something like this. So I have to say that was one of my favorite chapters within this book. But he also talks about the power of presence and the power of coming into the here and the now. And in some ways, it does remind me of Michael Singer's approach of surrender, but Eckhart Tolle's approach is coming into the now, coming into the presence. And I think this is one of the best practices we could ever have, no matter what we are working on, no matter what we are healing or transforming or working towards. Coming into the present moment is always where the solutions lie. So often our mind is so stuck in the past or so stuck in the future. So the more we can practice coming back to the presence, that's where our flow state is. That's where our intuition is. That is where our greatest guidance and answers lie. And so this book teaches you how to come back to that state. And I just can't recommend it enough. All right. The fourth book that I want to recommend is my favorite manifestation book of all time. In fact, I have recommended this and sent this to so many clients, and I've had some clients that say, this is my manifestation Bible, right? And it is Infinite Possibilities by Mike Dooley. I love you, Mike Dooley. Mike Dooley has the best energy. I think he is the sweetest, most loving soul. And I just love the way that he writes this book. It's one, again, that I've picked up time and time again, and I come back to, and I have the audio version and I have the book version, and sometimes I will just pick up one chapter of it and read it. But he really goes through the process of manifesting, and his whole thing is thoughts become things. Right? The thoughts that you focus on become your reality. And he talks about his life and how he used manifestation to create what he has created. And I use so much of what he teaches in that book as a foundation for my manifestation practice. So I really can't recommend it enough. It's another one of those books that just when you're reading it, it feels like a meditation practice. It feels like, for me, I can get myself into that flow state when I'm reading the book. And I just love it. So if you want to dive deeper into manifestation, grab a copy of Infinite Possibilities by Mike Dooley. I think you will absolutely love it. Side note, I am linking all of these in my show notes. I'm creating an Amazon storefront so that all 7 of these books are right there for you to grab. And I recommend grabbing all of them. They're so good. All right. The next one that I have read over and over and over and over is The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. And this book was really, really insightful for me when I felt like I was hitting up against what he calls an upper limit, meaning I felt stuck. I felt like I was playing out the same patterns. I couldn't go beyond a certain income level. At the time, I wasn't able to lose weight. I was struggling with my weight and my body image. And I felt like I was stuck in the same cycle for years and years and years. And I was trying to manifest a new vision, but I felt really stuck. And this book helped me really understand how each of us has an upper limit, meaning it is kind of like our comfort zone emotionally. If you think about it, it's an emotional comfort zone. Now, a comfort zone doesn't mean we're comfortable. It just means we're comfortable with it. It's the same patterns, it's the same problems that we're used to the point where we are comfortable with those problems. And it's almost more uncomfortable to solve them or to get out of them than it is to stay in it. And in this book, he talks about different ways to approach our upper limits or, those areas that we feel that we are stuck in. And for me, that was really, really helpful and insightful. And I think it was after reading that book and really meditating on the ideas and doing some work around it that I was finally able for the first time in my life to heal my body image. And I lost 50 pounds. And I think that was the year that I ended up starting to make more money than I ever made. Not maybe the exact year, but it was following the workings of that book that really helped me. Now, there's another concept in that book that I absolutely love and live by, which is all about working within your zone of genius and spending time in your zone of genius. And this was not something I knew anything about, right? I never heard of zone of genius. I never heard of the different concepts that he talks about within this of zone of excellence, zone of competence. And what I realized was that the things that light me up most are the things that I am best at and are also the things that make me the most valuable. So it's so interesting because I realized I used to think in order to be deserving and worthy of making money or having like high compensation, it had to be hard. It had to be a struggle. It had to be something I spent a lot of time, energy, and effort on. But what I realized after understanding our zone of genius and why we should be spending more time in that energy, in those activities that are within our zone of genius, I realized that it's really the things that light me up most, that make me feel most alive, that I love the most, that are actually the things that are most worthy of high compensation. So I actually started believing the more fun that I'm having, the more money I make, the more I'm lit up, the more money I make, the better I am at something, the more money I make, the more time I spend in the activities that light me up, the better my business is going to do, the better I'm going to do, the more it's going to grow. And that was eye-opening and so helpful. So I can't recommend that book enough, especially if you feel like you've hit an upper limit or are stuck. Grab a copy of The Big Leap in the show notes. Okay, two others that are by the same author. This is 6 and number 7 on my list of favorite books that have created the foundation of me. And one of them is Dissolve the Problem by Richard Dotts. And the last one is It Is Done by Richard Dotts. Both teeny tiny books. You can read these books in 2 days, right? If you're a fast reader, you'll read it in 1 day. I'm a slow reader. I like to really take my time with books, but you can read this book in 2 days, but it is so powerful. At least that's what I think about it. So Dissolve the Problem. Let's talk about that one first. Love this book. It's totally a manifestation book, but it talks about it in a way where in order to manifest, it's not always just about practicing mantras and trying to get something and trying to force something. Sometimes it's about what we let go of. And sometimes it's about letting go of the problem you are focused on, the worries that you are focused on. If we are always in worry, always looking at the problem, we are not in a solution phase. We cannot find the solution. So he talks about, it's sort of like a reverse way of manifesting, of letting go of the things that you are so focused on that you would call quote unquote problems. And the way that I understand it, my interpretation of this approach is, and giving it to God, right? That's a kind of like surrender, like the surrender experiment. It's letting go of toying with it, thinking about it, trying to solve it, and really letting it go and coming into a place of abundance, coming into an energetic space of wholeness So you just drop the problem, And that has been an amazing practice for me on my journey. And so I think you will find it helpful if you are someone who is trying to create something new, but you have habits of worry, overthinking, over trying to solve. Like you get really in your head trying to think about it, trying to solve it. And one of my other favorite authors is Wayne Dyer, and he always says there's a spiritual solution to every problem. And I never quite understood what he meant when he said that. But when I read Dissolve the Problem, it started to make sense. And it gave me kind of a how-to of how to bring a spiritual solution to the things that I was struggling with. So love that book. And it's in my list in the show notes. Last one is It Is Done by Richard Dotz. So same author. Also, funny story, right? You cannot find any information on Richard Dotz. His books are only for sale on Amazon. They are not expensive. They are potent, amazing. I have looked this man up. I'm like, who is Richard Dotz? He is no one to be found. So I love that he has his privacy, but he's creating so much value and magic out in the world. And I think that is just so fun. So the book, It Is Done. Ooh, is this one powerful? And I talk about this a lot in my manifestation process and in the soulful manifestation process is getting yourself energetically operating in a place where you know with certainty your manifestation is done, right? In some realm, in some timeline, in some reality, it's already done. And taking yourself to the place where it is done and operating from the place where you know it is yours, it is done, it is unfolding, it is happening. Now, this book really taught me how to do that. So I can't recommend it enough. Again, it's a simple, quick read, but it's so powerful and effective. And I know you're going to love it. I feel it. And I would love for you to dive into some of these books and come tell me what you think of them. Come share with me on Instagram. I'm at @JamieBerman_. I'd love to hear from you and hear what you think. And if you would be so kind, you could even leave a review for me and let me know what inspired you with this episode, or if you've read any of the books. The reviews really help push this content out into the world so that we can have a big ripple effect. And again, if you want to grab any of these books, go to the show notes. I have an Amazon storefront where you can grab all of them, right? So it's just one simple click and you can get as many as you want, or you can save the link and save some of them for later. Start with one of them. And so happy reading. I hope you love them. These books have changed my life, and I am beyond grateful for the authors who wrote these beautiful words. Hey, thanks for listening. I hope this episode is something that you'll be able to add to your manifestation toolbox to come back to when you need a little extra motivation. If you like what you've heard today and want to take it deeper, you've got to come check out my signature coaching program, the Money Manifestation Movement. It's the place where you'll not only learn manifestation, but you'll begin to live it alongside me and an amazing community of like-minded entrepreneurs doing this work together. Head on over to jamieberman.com to learn more.